Good morning, everyone, graduates, families, friends, teachers, and the proud few of you who made it through the semester purely fueled on caffeine and hope. It really is an honour to be here with you today. I've been invited to speak at a number of events over the years, but this one hits differently because CIT isn't just a place where I once studied, it's the place that changed the entire direction of my life. And part of why I'm here today is to prove something important, that you are never too old, too busy, too uncertain, or too underqualified to change your life. I am literally walking, talking, burnt fingers and stainless steel scars proof of that. Because I didn't start at CIT until I was 40. 40. Let that number sink in for a little bit. At the time, most of my culinary classmates were still deciding whether they liked coriander. I was deciding whether my knees still worked. But for me, enrolling in Certificate 3 in commercial cookery wasn't a midlife crisis. It was a midlife awakening. Before my culinary change, I'd already lived a few lives. I spent nearly 13 years in the Royal Australian Navy as a musician. That's right, a military musician. The only people on earth who can be yelled at for being out of step and out of tune at the same time. As a young musician who had just left school, this was an incredible job. Travelling Australia in various parts of the world, performing for royalty and significant other dignitaries was an amazing experience. But up until that point, music was the only thing that I had ever known. After leaving the Navy, I built up my skills in public relations and went on to spend many years in marketing and communication roles across both the public and private sectors, which means I went from playing the French horn, trumpet and drums to organising marketing campaigns and writing media releases. You'd actually be surprised how similar the two can be. Lots of noise, lots of pressure and plenty of people blowing hot air. I worked across a number of agencies, learned the art of strategic messaging and corporate branding, and it was meaningful work, but deep down, something in me was itching for more. And as it turned out, what was missing was food. I'd always loved cooking ever since I was a young child. The creativity, the chaos, the immediate joy that it could bring someone. But love alone doesn't get you a foot in the door. And that's where CIT came in. Enrolling at CIT wasn't a snap decision. It was terrifying. It felt reckless. It felt like I was gambling my future on a chef's jacket that at the time didn't quite fit. But on day one of my studies, surrounded by sharp knives, hot stoves and younger classmates who referred to me as Sir, I felt alive again. CIT just didn't teach me how to cook, it taught me how to begin again. While studying at CIT, I was lucky enough to win a culinary scholarship which took me to the Yarra Valley to work in a leading fine dining restaurant. That experience just didn't sharpen my knife skills, it sharpened my sense of what is possible. It put me in a kitchen where standards were high, creativity was respected, and excellence wasn't a bonus, it was expected. At the front end of my culinary career, I was fortunate enough to chase another passion of mine, cooking with craft beer. I joined BentSpoke Brewing Company, starting as an apprentice chef, and eventually becoming head chef. It was a dream gig, unless you've ever tried to pair a saison with a dessert, then it's more of a fever dream. But growth always brings new chapters, and mine took me to Lake George Winery, where my wife and I ran the restaurant, with our team winning the Cellar Door with Best Food Award by Australian Gourmet Traveller in 2019. Honestly, that period was one of the highlights of my culinary life. The food, the energy, the people, the sense that I'd finally built something truly my own. In November of 2019, my wife and I had just taken the biggest leap yet, signing a lease on a large cafe in Canberra. This was an exciting period for us as we set about establishing a true community cafe, a place where people from all parts of society could be made to feel welcomed. We invested everything into this space, financially and emotionally. We built a team that included around 15 people with disabilities, many of whom were experiencing meaningful employment for the first times in their lives. And then COVID hit. Out of the blue, the world shut down. Our revenue disappeared. And one by one, the things that defined our life slipped away. You see, COVID didn't care about our dreams, it didn't care about our business plan, it didn't care about our social impact, and it certainly didn't care about our hearts. We lost the cafe, we lost our savings, we lost our house. And hardest of all, we lost jobs for people who deserved better than that. You see, it's one thing to lose your home, but it's another to lose someone else's hope. That was the darkest chapter of my life. But rock bottom, despite how awful it feels at the time, has a way of clearing the path. And sometimes that path leads you exactly where you were meant to go all along. Today, I'm the proud founder and Chief Operating Officer of Embrace Disability Group, an organisation currently employing approximately 82 people, not approximately, we employ 82 people, with around 70% of those people living with a disability. We are a catering company who also runs school canteens, cafes and food vans, and up until recently we're delivering the Meals in Schools pilot program to participating schools in the ACT. But most importantly, we offer real purposeful jobs for people who have been overlooked for far too long. At Embrace Disability Group, we're growing, we're learning, we're building something meaningful, something that proves inclusion isn't just charity, it's strategy. And because of this work, I've learned something important about education, and this is my challenge to everyone in this room, particularly our educational institutions. We need to rethink what opportunity looks like, and we need to rethink who gets it. I work with some of the most passionate, committed, funny, determined people I've ever met. People who don't want the world handed to them, they just want a fair go. And a huge part of that fair go is education. And this brings me to the heart of what I want to say today. At Embrace Disability Group, we have a young Year 10 student who works with us 2 days a week. His dream, and I mean his dream, is to be a chef. In the kitchen, he thrives, he beams, he learns by doing. He's meticulous, curious, and absolutely lights up when he's given responsibility. If passion was currency, this young man would be a millionaire. But he's been knocked back from formal training because of his perceived LLM results. Now don't get me wrong, literacy and numeracy results matter, there's no question. But they are not the measure of a person's worth or their talent or their potential. Here's the emotional truth. We cannot continue to deny young people the right to pursue their purpose because they don't fit a template someone designed decades ago. At Embrace Disability Group, we can provide training, support, supervision and a workplace where this young man thrives, but we cannot give him a qualification. Only institutions like CIT can do that. And if education is a truly fundamental right, and I believe it is, then we must ensure that right is accessible not just to those who fit neatly inside the system, but also to those who sit just outside it, wanting to be invited in. CIT changed my life. It gave me the tools to build a new career, a new identity, and eventually a new mission. I am forever grateful for that. However, imagine how many lives could change if the path that I was given was widened, even slightly, for students who face barriers that have nothing to do with their passion or their potential. Graduates, today is your moment. You've done the hard work, you've pushed through the doubts, you've taken the hits. You've celebrated the wins and made it to this stage. And whether you're 17 or 40 or somewhere between, this is the beginning, not the end. Your career will not be a straight line. Mine certainly wasn't. You might start in one world and end up in another. You might reinvent yourself twice. You might lose everything and start again. But whatever happens, don't underestimate the power of education, the power of opportunity, and the power of saying yes to the thing that scares you, because that's usually the thing that changes your life. To the teachers, the trainers, the mentors and staff here today, thank you. Truly, what you do is life-changing work. But I'll also say this gently, with love, respect and a little bit of a nudge. There are more students out there who need you than you realise. Students whose brilliance doesn't show up on a test. Students who learn differently. Students who don't see themselves in the system but desperately want to be part of it. You have the power to expand the gate, not guard it, and I hope you will. To the graduates, even though I don't know you, I'm incredibly proud of you because I know the road you've travelled to be here. I know how much this day means, and I know that whether you end up in a kitchen, a workshop, a clinic, a studio, a tech lab, a construction site, an office, or somewhere completely unexpected, the skills you've learned here will shape your life more than just your career. Congratulations on everything you've achieved. Thank you for letting me share my story, and remember that you are never too old, too young, too uncertain, or too different to chase the future you deserve. Thank you.